52nd Ask Tamily interview. 52 interviews. And today's guest star is Anna. Her IG name is Ariel_mom, if you aren't already. And she'll be joining us in a second. Hello!
Hi!
Thank you for joining us for our 52nd Ask Tamily interview. We are so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, so we do have some questions planned for you, but we will monitor the chat also, so people can ask questions live as well, which is usually more fun.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So we'll start with our favorite question, which is, when and how did you start the Tracy Anderson method?
It would be about 2 years ago, so I'm approaching my 2-year anniversary. But just to sort of give a little bit of background on sort of how I fell into it all, I was coming off of a really serious yoga practice. I did Ashtanga yoga for 6 years, and I'm sort of a creature of habit. I loved that it was a 6-day-a-week practice. I had my time every morning, and at some point, my teacher moved. I hit 40. Things weren't happening for me anymore, and I sort of fell out of it. And I was kind of at this point where I wasn't really happy with where I was. Just somewhat physically. I wasn't really aware of it as much at the time, but I knew something was missing. And I came back, it was like July 5th, 2 years ago, and I was invited to a friend's party who lives in my neighborhood. And so I almost didn't go, but I went, and I met this woman who I was like, holy crap, how does she look that amazing? And it was Christina for the Love of Peachy Bottom, who I discovered lived 4 blocks from me for the last, at least 4 years prior to the time we had met. And I was like, how do you look like that? You're my age, because we're literally born in May the same year. And she was like, oh, well, Tracy Anderson method. And I'd heard of it before, but I never I didn't think it was for me. I think when I was doing yoga, I was kind of like, well, I do yoga. That's so much more, noble or something. I don't really know why I thought that, but within a month, I was basically streaming.
Awesome.
Christina was definitely a huge support and a motivating factor. And I started streaming. I really didn't tell her. I mean, I kind of told her, but I wasn't full on serious about it yet. And after a couple of months, I was like, oh, because I was following her and a few other Tamily members on Instagram. And I was like, oh, I wonder what it would look like if I taped myself. And then I started my own account, and I didn't tell her. And of course, she found it instantly, like the first person.
Oh, she's amazing. She's an amazing Tamily, guru.
Exactly, and I'm totally lucky that I have her in my life to get me here.
That's fantastic. So since you've been doing the method, what kind of results have you seen?
For me, I don't weigh myself at all. That was never something that really worried me in terms of understanding. I don't even really know what would be the right number that I would want to reach, but for me it was sort of feeling like things had gotten tighter. And if I look, because just a couple of days ago I was looking at footage of when I started versus where I am now, and it wasn't ever like I was overweight or I looked horrible or anything, but I was definitely a lot softer and fuller in a lot of areas, and now I feel like my shape is just tighter, and I'm always I feel like I'm more kind of in myself now a little bit, if that makes sense. And I think that's given me a lot of confidence that I don't think I had before, and I love having that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge results of this method. I don't even think people would realize how it changes that for you. It's amazing.
No, and it is so gradual that you don't realize it right away. For the first year, I think I was just oh, well, I feel good, so I like doing this, so I'll keep doing this, but it's not really doing anything for me. And I remember looking at photos at my 1 year anniversary and just being like, oh no, I was wrong. This is really doing something for me. But like, I think because it is so gradual and it doesn't happen overnight, that I think you don't realize it,
Yeah.
comparing things. But I mean, the fact that I was feeling so good was enough for me too, because I think that's much more important than anything. Like, just feeling like, you have the energy to like sort of get through the day, that you feel confident, and that's more important to me than like how I look externally.
Which is really the more important thing, and what we all learn through the
exactly.
You come to it with that, desire to change your body and for it to happen immediately, and then you realize the other benefits. So definitely seems like you evolved a little quicker on that front. Really important.
No, and I think that was one of the things that Christina told me too, was like, don't give up after like 6 months because you don't think something's happening. Like, things will definitely click when it's right, when you're ready for it. Yeah,
exactly. How do you personally get and stay motivated to work out regularly?
Well, I do think that this community is amazing because, I'm bad like everyone else. I get up in the morning and I start looking at my Instagram right away, and I get excited about what people are posting, and I'm like, okay, I can do this too. I can get in there and I can do it. But honestly, like, I think feeling great every morning or after I work out is also really helpful to me to motivate, because when I don't work out, I regret it enormously, like, for the entire day. And granted, there's going to be like the day or two where I really do need to maybe sit it out and take a rest. But for the most part, like, if I don't work out, I'm like more tired the rest of the day, and I feel like I'm missing something. So knowing that is a huge motivating factor for me.
Do you usually work out in the morning?
Yes, I always work out in the morning. Basically, I like, if my alarm hits, and I hit snooze about 20 times, but I'm working out by 6 every morning, because I want to make sure I get it in. I have like an hour commute to work, and I have a full day, so it's kind of, if I don't get it done, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah. What is some advice that you might have for someone who is new to the method?
I think the advice I would give is similar to what Christina told me, and that's basically to not go into it thinking you're going to see overnight results, and really just embrace it day by day and have a lot of fun doing it. Because I think that if you go into it thinking, I need to compare myself to this person's results, or see immediate results right away, you're going to be so frustrated with yourself. And so I feel like that's the biggest thing that helped me as a beginner, was to understand that this was a longer term strategy, and it wasn't something that I was going to do for a month and see results and move on. Like, this is something that, in my mind, I'm doing it for as long as I can, because it's really become a part of my life, and I love seeing the slow growth that I have within it, because I know it's real growth. It's not like, it's not a quick fix. It's not something that if I stop doing this for a day, it's going to go away. Like, I know that I'm in it, and that as long as I keep some level of consistency, I'm going to feel really good.
So, what's the routine around it now? Do you usually do 6 days a week, or how do you do that?
I shoot for 6 days a week. Depending. I've been doing a lot of travel, so between 5-6 days is average, but 6 days being the goal. Usually Sundays are my rest day, because it's also I do aerials on Sundays, and I discovered at one point that if I do Tracy too close to an aerial class, I don't have enough strength left to stay in the air, and that's kind of an important thing when you're doing aerials.
Yeah.
Like, I could do it, like, if I do a Tracy class at 6 in the morning and I have a circus class that night, then I'm fine. But Sundays I usually have a circus class like 11 a.m. and it just wasn't cutting it, so I kind of sort of made that my rest day for the most part.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the aerials. How long have you been doing that?
I've probably been doing that about 3 years, I want to say, like about a year before I started doing Tracy, and that was sort of in my yoga transition. So as everyone knows, I really like to do bendy things, and I think that was partly why I loved yoga so much because it obviously encourages bendiness. And so when I stopped doing that, I discovered circus, mostly through my youngest kid. I took him to a class, and the whole time I was just like, "Oh, I could do that better. Like I should be doing that. Why am I not up there?" So instantly I signed up, and so I do love it for so many things because I think it's like a really beautiful artistic expression, or it can be if you do it well. And it really helped with strength building. Like when I very first started circus, like I couldn't do a pull up to save my life, and so and I think especially as a woman, we're all like pull ups. Oh my god, that's so hard, and so I feel like really empowered that I can do that now. And I think it's been a great mix having circus and Tracy because I think with Tracy I have like the cardio and a lot more aspects that I was missing with circus, but I love having sort of the balance.
Okay, yeah, that's so interesting. So cool. Um, we do have some questions for you in the chat.
Sure.
Let's see. Natalia would like to know what kind of ambiance you like for your tam cave, and do you emotionally prepare your space?
Well, I definitely am I'm a very visual person. So I'm a clothing designer, or that's my background. I've always designed clothing. I love really beautiful spaces and beautiful things, and so I'm definitely a very visual person. So you know, even in my brother's house, I have to be like, okay, where's the perfect shot? Where's like the perfect place? Like in video, like it has to be artistically thought of. So I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's I'm going for a feeling or if just sort of that visual component is driving the feeling for me a little bit. But I do like having a space that I feel very common. And that's why I love my space in Philly right now because, well, I love plants and I love sunlight and I love being surrounded by all those things. And I think having come from a yoga background, I was sort of used to these really pretty, serene spaces. So I feel like I've sort of merged all my worlds together a little bit by doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It definitely makes a difference in the meditative aspect of the work. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't meditate. It's just I don't. It's not something that I can personally do well at all. But I do find myself meditating when I'm doing Tracy, especially in my studio, when I can really focus and get into the repetition sometimes. And I think that the space definitely helps that.
So Change Girl has a question which you sort of answered part of it already, but she said, "I love your aerial pose. How long have you been doing it, and why did you decide to do it?"
Well, so it was about I want to say 3 years, but I could be wrong. But I think I started doing it mostly because I thought I can do that and I could be awesome at it, and I really wanted to prove that I could. And I think once I started doing it and I got like really great feedback, everyone was like, "Oh, you're so bendy. You should be doing more of this." I don't know. It just got bigger and bigger, and I'd love to get to a point where I would do a performance at some point, but I'm not quite there. I feel like I need a little bit more training before I can kind of do that. But I love sort of learning moves, and I'm someone who really loves challenge. I think that is another reason why I like, especially Attain, because I love like the really tricky moves. Because for me, figuring those out always feels great, and circus is a little bit like that for me because the moves are really tricky, and I can get frustrated. But once I figure it out, it's just the best feeling ever. So that's another aspect of just my personality that I think really suits the circus world. And it's a really great environment too in terms of like the community there. They're all just like the TAM community, very supportive, and I'm really excited to see people like learn things, and it's very motivating also.
It sounds awesome. Cassie has a question for you also. She says, has doing TAM influenced your work in design at all?
Well, yes, because I work with a team that also designs activewear. A lot of Tamily wears our clothing, which I think is really exciting. So if you don't know, I'm the managing director of creative for Free People, and we have an FP movement clothing line that we started well before I got into Tracy Anderson, when I was more doing yoga, and it's been really sort of fascinating as I've become more and more part of this world, like the differences between like what I would have worn to yoga versus what I like wearing now, within Tracy, and being able to sort of take some of those learnings and work with the team on that a little bit has been really fun. One of the things that is really is kind of funny is everyone wears the bodysuit, that's kind of transitioned over a couple of years. It was actually an intimates bodysuit, and it has the little bar right here. And I was so shocked when I realized that so many people in the Tamily were wearing it, because I was like, oh my god, that's not meant for working out in. How are people not just falling out of it? And I know a lot of people are. So and then our movement team was like, oh my god, why are all the people wearing intimates? They should be wearing Free People movement. So they designed their own version, sort of a similar idea, a little bit of tweaking. I think it has two bars, the move along bodysuit that Tracy had on her website for a while. And I was like, okay, great, but do you know that everyone in the Tamily cuts out the backs because they want them to be thongs so they don't have seam lines? So the good news is we're going to be coming out with a version with a thong back for all of you guys.
That's amazing.
Yes. So, yes, very directly influencing
Wow.
work. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad Cassie asked that question.
Yeah. No,
Awesome.
yeah, I think that definitely every time I go into the office, it's fun. I actually have to remind myself not to talk about Tam a lot, because I'm like, okay, there are other things out there. I have to like let them talk about those things, but then I'm like, but it's Tamily, and everyone's like, all right, fine.
Well, it's a huge captive audience that you have. So
yeah.
Well, I think that's all of our questions in the chat right now. Our next question for you, and I know we know part of this answer, is do you have any workout partners?
Well, yes, definitely. I would say Christina is for sure my bestest workout partner. I love having her so close. It's actually funny though, because I think that being as close to each other as we are, we don't work out together as much as we could. We both have really busy lives, but when we can, it's awesome. And I think in my head, she's always there because we are so close. So definitely her. But I also am lucky enough being in Philly to be able to go to New York at least once a month. Partly because we have a showroom there, so I go for meetings once a month. And so whenever I go, I always see Darlene and Suri and DJ Jolene, and Crystal's going for Superhuman always usually comes with me to New York since she works with me. So I always feel like that's like my New York workout crew.
That's awesome. It's very cool. It makes me miss being more north on the coast.
No, I'm definitely very lucky to have that ability. I mean, it's a good thing that I'm not closer, because I would have a hard time not staying away every day, and I think my husband would probably kill me. Yeah.
Have you ever, well, we know the answer to this partially, have you ever been to a Vitality Week or a studio?
Yes, so obviously, studio I've been to 59th a lot, but when I first started, a couple years ago, I just signed up for the Vitality Week in Miami with Christina, and I didn't really know what I was in for. She'd been to one before, and she just kind of convinced me to go with her. And it was the most amazing experience. I really didn't know a lot of people at that point, but I met so many people that I obviously consider to be friends still today, and I really genuinely cherish their friendships. But I just remember just kind of showing up and not having a clue what I was in for. I'd never gone to a studio class or done anything. And it wasn't in one of Tracy's studios. It was like in a a hot yoga studio in Miami, and I almost died. I had no expectations of how hot it was going to be, so I was not prepared at all mentally for it. So luckily I didn't die, but I definitely was like, wow, that kicked my ass. I had no idea, but I was really excited because Tracy was wearing Free People when I showed up, and I was like, oh my god, she's wearing Free People. And of course I had to totally geek out and go over to her and be like, hi, I work for Free People, and you're wearing this. I just want to say I love it. And she's like, oh my god, I love Free People. And it was awesome. It was really awesome. And I went home and I told everyone at work that she was my new best friend, and they believed me. So that was a great experience. And then I did go to New York as well, and that was an amazing experience, mostly because the first time around I didn't know what I was in for. I really didn't know anyone other than Christina, so I just kind of like felt like I took a, I sort of not took a back seat, but I definitely just was more like taking it in, than anything. And I felt like with the New York experience, like I knew so many people, and I knew what I was up for, and I really wanted to, and I really embraced the whole experience. And then I will be seeing you soon in the Hamptons, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yes, I can't. I can't believe it's coming up so soon.
God, it's less than
I gotta get ready.
I gotta start packing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the dresses I'm gonna bring? Obviously, people, but yeah, a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. Alexandra has a question for you. So she would like to know, if your life was a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my god. Oh, I'm so not good with words. I don't know. What would the title be? I really, my first instinct was already a movie that already exists, but I wanted to say Pretty in Pink, so I feel like it needs to be something along those lines. Mostly because I do love pink, and I love being surrounded by beautiful things. So I think that's a part of what I would do. But I don't know. That doesn't seem edgy enough. So I'll have to think about it. Maybe I'll come back to it by the end of the interview.
Okay.
That might take a moment.
Cassie has another question for you. Is there anything that you love to wear on the regular besides Free People?
Workout wise or clothing wise?
Well, she said, and for the love of rock stars, of course. So I think maybe she's thinking more workout wise.
Yeah. I kind of dabble in other brands. I don't really have any that I consistently go back to. My favorite leggings besides Free People and For the Love of Rockstars that I've been wearing is, I'm going to totally butcher this name because it's, I think, French or something. Porte Bras.
Okay.
I have one pair of leggings from them right now, and they fit amazingly. And they have rainbow panels on them, and every time I wear them, people freak out. So I definitely want to get more of those.
I think I saw someone post something from that brand yesterday.
I think it was Aggie.
It was Aggie.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. Yep. Definitely.
Those leggings. I only have one pair of leggings right now, but they are probably the best fitting leggings that I have. I really like them.
Cool. Good to know. Our next question for you is: Have you faced any challenges in doing the method?
I have, like, over time developed a couple of injuries mostly from my time in yoga that flare up sometimes within doing the method, usually relating to either wrist or shoulder. So there were a few weeks where the sequences were really, really shoulder heavy, and I had to make a lot of adjustments and change things up to kind of stay out of my shoulders. And that's a little bit of knowing that you need to stay out of your shoulders, but also recognizing that if you're having trouble doing that you do need to adjust a little bit. And so I just kind of, like, during that time period, and it was really frustrating because they weren't things that I shouldn't have been able to do, but, like, I couldn't do them without a lot of pain and feeling it later. And so I made the adjustments I needed to, and I definitely feel a lot better for it. I definitely have, like, wrist issues that came up through circus injuries that have impacted how I can move. So I've just learned to sort of understand that you kind of have to work with what you have a little bit and make adjustments, and don't push yourself if it's going to hurt in a really painful way. I found that acupuncture really helped me in a lot of those cases, so I was able to sort of move on, and I feel great right now. But I know that because at this point, those injuries are so long term for me that I know they're going to come back. So I kind of have to keep that in mind when I'm doing things.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the injuries have definitely been the most challenging part for me, for sure.
Have you always been athletic and involved in some type of fitness?
Not at all.
Oh wow!
So I started yoga when I was 34, I want to say, and I had never done anything remotely athletic before that. Partially because I wasn't allowed to. I sort of grew up in a bit of a conservative household, and I wasn't really allowed to play sports as a girl. So it was kind of something that I sort of I guess I accepted at some point. And then, growing up, even leaving my parents' house, I still didn't really get into sports, mostly because I never had that background. I had this perception that it was more for men, and obviously I've come a long way and I embrace a lot more activity now, but I still don't, I don't watch sports games, or I don't understand sports games. I've never embraced any of that. And at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad I found this at this age, but how amazing would it have been to have discovered this earlier in my life? That would have been amazing. So these younger girls I see doing it, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so lucky. Embrace this and don't let it go. And I have a lot of coworkers who are on the younger side who have started doing TAM because of whether they're seeing me or they're seeing Crystal or other people. And I love it. They're all younger people who are embracing this method, and I'm really happy to see that growing.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot because it seems like, a lot of us are in our 30s or 40s by the time we discover Tracy. And it's like, if I could have done this when I was 20, I'd be
amazing.
3 times a day.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
So Denise has a question for you. How did you cultivate your own creativity given a conservative background, or was it cultivated as a child?
It's funny, I've definitely come a long way with my relationship with my parents, but even they will say to me, we don't know where you came from. We don't know how you became this creative person with this independent attitude. They don't get it. I mean, at this point, they fully appreciate it and embrace it now, but it confuses them. But I actually think, and this is where it gets sort of weird, I sort of think that my upbringing is why I became creative and independent. And I can see people having different reactions to sort of that background, but I sort of took it as, I can't express myself in this way. Well, I'm going to do it this way instead. I can't have the nice clothes that other people have. I'm going to make my own clothes instead. So I kind of always took, whether it was a setback or a challenge, in a more positive way, and sort of would reinvent myself to adjust to some of those challenges. And I think that helped me sort of become more creative. Fashion for me totally evolved out of necessity because I didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I wanted desperately to look like the other cool girls at school with all their Outback Red and limited clothing that they were wearing back in the day. But I couldn't afford it. So I decided if I couldn't be like those girls, I was going to be the opposite of that, and I was going to make all my own clothes. So I would go to the vintage clothing stores all the time, which horrified my family because they're like, "You're wearing used clothing," and I would remake it or dye it or draw on it. But that was sort of where my fashion career started was sort of just out of my own necessity.
That's amazing. Very, very cool. Let's see. Our next question for you is, do you have any tips for doing TAM while traveling?
Yes. I mean, I think they're pretty basic, but I do travel a lot, and I have discovered that my jet lag is pretty non-existent if I stick to my routine. So that's for one thing I would say is like when I traveled, I travel to India every year. I used to travel a lot to India, but now I only go about once a year. But you get in, it's like a Are you back? Okay. So like I was saying, like I definitely
there was
work out
pause for a second.
Okay. And I always carry with me one set of leg weights, usually the heavy ones, and I usually bring a lightweight mat because I know you can probably use a towel if you need to if you're doing check-in or if you're not checking in luggage. But I usually check in for longer trips anyway, so I'll bring a lightweight mat. And just one pair of leg weights because I can use those for hand weights during arms. And I don't get too hung up on like, oh, she's got double weights and I don't have double weights. Like, you do the best you can. But I've found that like basically maintaining my consistency no matter where I go has really, really helped jet lag enormously. So, and even like here, I flew to Richmond last night and I brought a yoga mat and I brought my weights. And I feel like that just makes such a difference, no matter where you go, that you can sort of connect back to this practice and not lose a step, which I love about it.
Yeah, exactly. It is so versatile and mobile. What is your favorite thing about the method?
Well, there's so many things. Oh my god, how do you pick your one favorite? Well, I do love that it's so creative because I could never do like one of those normal workouts people go. I mean, that I envision people. I've never been to a gym, so I have no idea. But like when you go to the gym and you see people doing like these basic reps all the time, and even if you have like sort of like an idea of what your sequence is or whatever, I'm like I can never do that on a daily level. I would get so bored, and I just like I need to be challenged. Like, then obviously that's why I do so many weird things. But I need to be challenged. So if Tracy's class didn't change every week, I know I wouldn't do it. Like I couldn't ever just do a video and think, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I would get so bored. So for me, what I love is that every week is different. I have new moves that I have to figure out and that I have to get right. And by the time I'm starting to get bored again, they change. So that's actually what I love the most.
So do you always stick to advanced, or what is your routine around that?
Yeah, I usually stick to advanced, and that really does come down to the fact that I love the, moves with 80 steps to them. Even if they confuse the hell out of me the first day, I really genuinely love the challenge of figuring it out and knowing that once I get it, the flow feels so amazing. I will, if I'm tired or I am starting to get bored by the end of the week, if I feel like I've figured out those moves, I will try Fundamentalist, and usually I do enjoy that class. I just couldn't see myself doing it consistently, just for the reason of like most of the time the moves are more straightforward, and so I have a short attention span.
Do you do dance cardio as well?
No, when I first started doing this, I thought I was gonna get into that because I actually really love dancing. Like if you went to a club with me, you'd have to pull me off the floor basically. Like I really do enjoy dancing, but I have trouble with a lot of the impact in dancing. So I do like the some of the more low impact DCs that I've been seeing. I haven't figured out how to incorporate it into my weekly routine yet, but more of that I could see doing. I'll have a lot of trouble with a lot of the high impact.
Kristen would like to know what you think of this week's advanced class.
I like it a lot. I think, because I like the first half a lot, because I like the flow of the moves. There's one move though that I'm still having trouble with, where it's like you have I'm trying to think which one it is. It's like when you're bringing your leg up, and I can't figure out what to do with my leg, and you have the weights too. I don't know. There's the one move I haven't figured out yet, but it's also because I don't watch breakdowns like a really horrible person, because I have no attention span. Because I've tried to watch them and I can't get through it. And I never did homework either, so I kind of connected back to the fact that I don't know how to do homework. Like, I never studied, I never did homework.
Yeah.
Just faked it until, and just so everyone's clear, I was an honor roll student. I somehow struggled through that. So I think that there's like certain nuances that I think I missed because I don't watch the breakdown, but that's why I love watching you guys, because I can see some of those things I miss in watching your videos. The double waist portion where you're balancing on the weights is a little weird for me. And from my understanding, that's something I think Tracy did is in continuity or something like that. I never did any of those, so I don't have that background. But it sort of freaks me out a little bit because I kind of feel like my wrists aren't stable on those weights, and I'm always a little worried that I'm gonna like twist a wrist again or something. So I get a little like freaked out in that portion.
Right, that makes sense, definitely. Before we go on to any other questions, I'm gonna ask what you're drinking.
Bloody Mary.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, all the best advice I got this week was to make sure I had a drink, and I was like, that is for sure going to happen.
It definitely helps. To me, that's like alcohol.
Yeah.
My other question is, are you wearing a string bikini? Excellent.
It's not white though.
It's close.
Yeah, and I told my brother-in-law's friends, so I have to wear a bikini while drinking a Bloody Mary, and then I have to go into the splits, but I'm not going to do on this table because that would just be a little inappropriate. But we all know I could.
Definitely. We definitely know you could.
That's all that matters.
Have you converted anyone to become a devoted Tammer?
I'd like to think I did. Well, I think you, I don't know if you know, going for Superhuman, who I've mentioned a couple times. So Crystal is someone I worked with for 17 years. And she actually, when she had her second kid, she actually did, I think, Tracy's, some of her pregnancy videos. So she did have a little bit of an understanding of the method, but when I got into it with Christina, she was a little hesitant, and then I took her to a class at 59th Street, so it was her first time really doing it, other than the video a few years back, and she was hooked, like, that day, and she started streaming, I think, the next day. So I'd like to take a little bit of credit for that, even though, I think she probably would have gotten there on her own regardless. And then I think the combined impact of both of us doing it, I think we have at least a dozen, if not more, people in our office that started doing Tracy because of us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think any of them have embraced like posting their videos or anything yet, but I know that a lot of them are consistently doing it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think we've got a couple more questions for that. So Denise asked, give us a day in the life. Like, what's your work day like? Who makes dinner? What's your evening routine?
Oh. Well, I am extremely lucky to have a husband. So I will be married 25 years in December. Yeah, and it's really funny. So I'm in Richmond because we're gonna go see a show tonight for this band that is having a reunion kind of show. It's like their 20-year anniversary of this album they put out, and they haven't played together in 10 years, so it's like this big deal from Richmond. And I met my husband at one of their shows like 27 years ago.
Wow.
So it's funny. But he was a teacher, and when we had our first child, who is now almost 20, um, when we had him, we moved to Philly, and the Philly school system is not necessarily an ideal school system, and we were a little freaked out by the whole process of finding the right school for him. And at some point, we were like, oh, well, you're a teacher. Why don't you just stay home and teach our kids? So my husband actually stayed home and homeschooled both of our children for a very long time. So my oldest was homeschooled until ninth grade, and my youngest until fifth grade. And so my husband has been able to stay at home with them and sort of manage a lot of my life, which has been awesome because it helped me grow professionally. And I think it's been like it's been the perfect balance, because I'm definitely very goal oriented, and I work really hard, and I really value what I do at Free People, and I want to make sure I have the ability to commit to that. But then at the same time, I know that my husband can take care of our kids and our home, and he has dinner on the table for me every night, which is very important. Actually, he didn't have he left for Virginia a day earlier than me the other night, so I didn't have dinner when I got home, so I had ice cream for dinner.
Oh.
So clearly, I don't know how to take care of myself.
Ice cream is good on occasion.
Yeah. Possibly not as a substitute for dinner, but I don't know. So at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a little bit old-fashioned, because I love the sort of like the relationship my husband and I have. But I've always felt like, why does it always have to be the woman staying at home? Like, it could, it should be what's right for the couple,
Yeah.
and this has been what's right for us. It's been a perfect blend of our skill sets, and I know I could never stay at home, so I'm just like lucky that I have someone that is happy to do that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Tamsterdam would like to know if you can tell us how to do the splits.
Oh, all right. I know I promised everyone that I was going to do that, but I didn't think you'd take me seriously. Well, okay, this is how I do them. Is I was born with hypermobility, so I don't know how to not do the splits.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just like freakishly bendy to the point where it's not okay.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
If we're not, you don't have any tips for us?
Well, no, I mean, I do. From when I did yoga, when I would watch other people learning, because I think you can go right into it if you don't have it. Like I could do it, I could do it right now if you wanted me to, but I'm not going to. But I would start with blocks or some sort of like something to sort of balance your core on, and then so that you can go into the splits, but you're not fully going into them until you're ready. So you sort of have blocks under your core, and then as you feel less and less tight, you start taking the blocks away until you get to the split. That's what I've seen has been, I think, the most beneficial to a lot of people. I do think doing things like pigeon really helps too, because it's sort of like going in that direction, but I think a little bit more manageable for a lot of people. But I also think you have to do it consistently. Like, you can't just do it every once in a while and think you're going to get anywhere. Like, I would really try to practice this every day for a few minutes, and just kind of see where your results end up going. I actually am at a point where I'm working on over splits, because I do dabble in contortion also, and I because the splits are pretty easy for me. I kind of want to go like this kind of.
That is amazing. Amazing. Circus, aerials,
Yeah.
and Tam. It's like Tam's the tamest thing that you do.
Oddly, yeah. Yeah.
That is so funny. Okay, I'm just checking the chat for any more questions. I don't think there's any more there. Well, you have told us this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where do you live and what do you do?
So I live in Philadelphia, for the most part. I like to say I live also in Vermont, because I'm there a lot. It's sort of my happy place right now. And I ended up having a house there because my oldest son goes to college in Burlington. And when we went up to visit the school there, we were like, all right, if he gets in, we're getting a place here, because this place is insane. And it's just gorgeous up there, and I had no idea. Like in my mind, because I grew up in Virginia. I like warm weather. In my head, I was like New England. Oh my God, it's cold up there. Why would I want to go up there? And it definitely gets cold, but it's so beautiful. I don't even care. So I try to be up there at least once a month, if not more than that. So it's definitely splitting my time between Philly and Vermont. And I work for Free People, where I get to design clothing that I love and work with really amazing creative people.
Awesome. We love getting to know you. You're so interesting. So we do have another question for you, but of course, if anyone that's watching has a question, please type it in. We would also like to know what's important in your life that you would like to share with the Tamily.
So I kind of started talking about this recently in my posts, and mostly I wanted to mention it because I didn't want to come across that I was sort of hiding this part of my life at all. But when I started doing Tracy Anderson and started doing my posts 2 years ago, I would comment about my son, who everyone's always like, oh yeah, we knew you had a college kid. We didn't know you had another kid. But I always commented on my oldest son and then my daughter. And about halfway through doing Tracy Anderson, my youngest child came out as trans male. And I realized at some point I had stopped posting about him, mostly because I was like, well, how do I announce, or not announce, because I didn't want to announce necessarily, but how do I all of a sudden transition from having a boy and a girl, and all of a sudden I have 2 boys, and I have had a few people going, oh, didn't you have a daughter? And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think I wanted to sort of speak to this mostly because I don't want anyone thinking that it's something that I'm not proud of or I'm embarrassed of, because I am so proud of both my kids, and I am a really big ally to my child and to the whole community, and I wanted people to know that that was really important to me, and that I really want to surround myself with people who also are allies and part of that community.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that, but we definitely appreciate, especially being able to know there's more allies in the TAM community as well.
Exactly.
Excellent. We do have some questions coming in the chat as well. So the Uncool Tammer would like to know if you experience an emotional release when doing the Tracy Anderson method.
I do. I think that sometimes I wake up a little stressed out. I love what I do, but it can be really stressful. Or whether you're stressed out about things going on in your family life or whatever it is. And I do think that the energy that you exert within doing this method allows some of that frustration to sort of dissipate. So I really do appreciate that aspect of what this method can do for you, for sure. It is very therapeutic in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate that.
Definitely, I completely agree. I don't know what I would do without it. Cassie has another question. She said, what is your secret? How can I look as ridiculously amazing as you?
Well, I'm pretty sure Cassie does look ridiculously amazing, so I don't know why she needs to ask that. Well, it was funny because when I watched her interview a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed with her knowledge of skincare or beauty products or all that. I am the exact opposite. I don't know what to do. I put on red lipstick and brush my hair and I run out the door. I've never learned how to put makeup on. I don't know how to cut my hair. I get my hair cut once a year actually because I'm so lazy that I can't really deal with it. So I'm 100% at this point just riding on good genes, I think. But I think that
really good.
At some point it's all just going to go downhill because I don't know how to do anything to prevent it. I'm just kind of riding it out until something goes wrong.
Well, it looks like a fantastic ride.
Oh, thank you.
Cassie has one more question. She said, "What's your routine, and are there any must-haves?" So I don't know if she's talking about beauty or fitness or what, actually.
Oh, it cannot be beauty because I have no routines. No, like literally, like I wash. I do a scrub every morning. I put on a serum and moisturizing. That's the big thing. Like that's 100% my secret because that's one thing my mom taught me that I had listened to growing up was to moisturize every single day. So like I lather up like a crazy person. But that's it. That's all I do. That's all I got.
Okay, Amsterdam would like to know, do you subscribe to the performance program from Tracy?
No, I didn't. I didn't sign up for that. I was doing what was it premium? Was it called premium before that? Yeah, I did have premium. And I initially enjoyed it. Which I was really because when I went to do the Miami Vitality, I was so happy I had it because I forget what was the dance that she was teaching in it, but everyone basically learned it, and she did it in Vitality, and I was like, oh, thank God, I actually know something. But I struggled to sort of keep up with it. It was just a little bit too much for my day-to-day. And so when things switched up, I just didn't go into it.
I think that might be all of our questions. And Instagram does cut us off with no warning at an hour. Yeah, we have 2 minutes left. Is there anything else you would like to share with the Tamily while you have this audience?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm just so happy that I'm part of this community. I think you guys have to realize how important you are to me and to so many people. The fact that you show up every day and that you say such nice things to so many people. Like I've never seen so much positivity anywhere. And I think in this day and age, like to have that in my life and to have that in anyone's lives is just. I can't take that for granted because I know that like so many people don't have that. And it's amazing that this community brings so many people that are so positive and uplifting together on a daily basis. And so I treasure that. And that's probably the main reason why I'm so motivated and why I keep doing this. And I know why I will keep doing this and why I post because I want to be part of it, Like everyone's like, well, why do you post? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, because I want to be in this community. I want to be part of it. And I feel like that's been such a huge element of it. So I'm so grateful for all of you.
Well, we are definitely grateful for you. And it's been so fun getting to know a little more about you and your creativity and your job and the cool
thank you.
You're doing. And it's very, inspirational. I just really love, obviously, doing these interviews, but getting to know the different aspects about everyone in the community and how we all really come together in one common thing.
Definitely.
But we're so incredibly different from each other.
Definitely. And there's so many kick-ass people in this community. It's awesome. It's so awesome getting to know all of you.
Totally amazing. So thank you for being so open with us and for drinking Bloody Marys and wearing a string bikini and being a super cool, unique Tammer.
Thank you. Bye. And see you in a few weeks.